All right, hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Gabby Tries. This is actually our last episode of this season, so we can say that we saved the best for last. I am joined here today by none other than one of the awesome co-owners of Filistix, Ariel. Ariel, how's it going?
Hey, how are you?
Good, good. Feeling pretty awesome. How have things been? How are you doing?
Well, as of now,
Yeah.
things are going really crazy.
Oh.
We have a lot of cool things in the pipe. I guess, we're hopefully in the final stages of finalizing our food truck,
Oh, nice.
which is really weird because that's kind of like full circle. So maybe I'll just give you a little history of
No, of course. I was
Filistix.
gonna say, like with Filistix, we were chatting earlier that you'd begun as a food
That's
truck.
right. Yeah, we started out as a food truck / trailer back in 2008. So we were one of the earliest food trucks in the city. It's funny because like one of the Edmonton Journal food writers has been following our story, our journey since day one, and she kind of deemed us as the pioneers of the food truck scene in the city,
Nice.
which is really
That's
kind
amazing.
of humbling, but at the same time, we're really grateful for that. We started Filistix in 2008. So me, as in myself and my business partner, who is / my cousin as well.
Oh.
So we've got a family connection there, and his name is Roel Canafranca. And we've always been interested in food growing up. Like through high school and university, as most people do, they get a job in the restaurant,
Yeah, of
right,
course,
industry.
yeah.
So, and that just kind of resonated with both of us, and we kind of had similar paths but separate. I was in the Earls and Joey system,
Ah, yes, of course.
which was a really great system to begin your culinary journey with, because they have an amazing training program and mentoring program. I mean, that was back then. I haven't been in that system for a long time.
Yeah,
And Roel, he was in the Hard Rock system. So similar, kind of like,
Nice.
Big box, really busy kind of environment, fast paced. Especially when you're in the kitchen, you get that bug and you get that adrenaline rush when there was a really busy lunch rush or really busy dinner rush, and that kind of there's a certain type of person that gets attracted to that kind of like rush, and I guess Roel and I were that kind of person. So all through university, we worked in the restaurant industry. I moved all over the place. I worked in some fine dining places. I moved to Lake Louise to work in a resort there and things like that. So a lot of restaurant industry. But after university, I kind of went the corporate route. I worked for a company called Siemens, which is a big German conglomerate.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's actually.
For a while, and then went into marketing for a publishing company and marketing for an IT company. But in the back of my head, I always had this thing
Love
for food.
and
Yeah.
passion for it, yeah,
And
okay.
Roel and I had always wanted to do something. Oh, love to open up a cafe like the Sugar Bowl or something like that, or one of our most favorite restaurants in the city. It's not around anymore, but it used to be called Cafe Select
Oh, wow.
downtown.
Yeah, that's right.
And it was really kind of French, late night dining, very bistro, very romantic, and the food was just awesome. Actually, Roel and I worked there for a little bit. So it was always been, in the back of our minds to do something. And 2000 to 2007, 2008, I did my MBA, and one of the modules was an entrepreneurship course or entrepreneurship module. And I did a business plan for a restaurant, right? So it was kind of like the blueprint of
Yeah,
what
no,
Filistix was.
Okay.
But it was more of a restaurant, not food truck or food trailer. But we kind of adjusted it so that it would fit the food truck kind of model. And so 2008, we took the plunge because we thought, hey, you know what? We see it, starting to get momentum, started to gain steam in the U.S. with the food trucks that were coming
Yeah,
out,
of course.
during that time. And we've always been what's kind of the first kind of step, first foot in the door. We thought, well, let's do Filipino street food, because that's kind of, homage to our roots and our heritage. But it's also who doesn't love meat on a stick?
Truly, yeah. That's 100%.
And so there we were doing like Filipino barbecue. So that's where the word or the name Filistix comes from. So Philly, Filipino, sticks as in barbecue sticks. So we kind of like mashed the two together.
Sweet. No, we'll take it because we got kebabs. So
Yeah,
we're like,
there you go. There you go.
Like,
And
meat
I
on
think
stick
every
is
ethnicity,
like,
every culture has like meat on a stick.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the most quintessential street food out there, right? So we thought, hey, let's do that. Let's introduce Filipino street food to the Edmonton dining public. So we looked around and the only thing that we could find was this glorified hot dog trailer. Wasn't really like a food truck at the time, but like I said, it was like our first step, our first foot in the door, and it was really, really like in terms of like startup investment, it was really manageable. Really, like I mean, getting into a restaurant, you're looking at like $300,000, $500,000.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Where are we going to get that kind of cash? So, yeah, so getting into a food trailer at the time was really manageable. So that was what we did. Got it shipped from Ontario. This place, I don't even think it's in business anymore. And it's just really this nondescript white truck. And the first spot that we set up was in Rice Howard Way, like right by the Bank of Montreal, which is no longer there. And for the first season, it was really an eye-opening experience. People would walk by the truck. It was not deckled, not labeled. It was just this. We had a sticker that said Filistix, fresh off the grill, and people were like, "Oh, that looks like an electrical box," or So people were just like not having any of it, right? And when
so
we're
you
doing
needed to like deckle it. And
we went through the whole process of like learning how to like build a food truck business, right? So, when we did our market research, we would sit outside of like Rice Howard Way, like post up on Rice Howard Way and watch like how Darren, who was the Fat Frank's hot dog vendor on that street, watch him do like 300 orders a day.
Yeah.
Like he'd have a lineup like 30 people deep for like 2, 3, 4 hours, right? And we're like, hey, we could do this. This is awesome. What we didn't realize is that, Edmontonians are not really risky when it comes to food. They're very set in their ways. It's a little bit difficult for them to step out of their comfort zone. So when they see this nondescript white box selling meat on a stick, when it's outside of context, like meat on a stick, you could sell by the dozens at like Heritage Days or K-Days, places like that.
I was just about to say that because I've worked Heritage Days and like the kind of like the pavilions there. But it was like, but you'd find even at Heritage Days when folks would come and arrive, they had set like places they'd go to.
Yeah.
And as you're saying, like, oh, like they like aren't, I won't say like adventurous. Like, there's no dig against any of you folks at home, but like it's true. Like I found that like it took a while to warm up, and then once they kind of did, like they would come back in droves. But for the first little bit, like some pavilions were just like completely ignored. So I can imagine that like, like of course they'll go to Frank's because that's known, and they're outside of every Canadian Tire. I feel like all the time. Like, and then like you coming in new, it must have been like, who is this? What do you do?
Exactly. Like, so, we'd look at, 50 yards down the street, we'd see 30-person lineup, and, we'd have like people walk by, peer in, giggle a little bit. And we're like, oh, what are you guys doing here? Oh, we're selling Filipino street food, Filipino barbecue. I'm like, oh, that's cute. And then they would just keep on walking to like City Center and like go to the food court, right? So the first 3 years on Rice Howard Way were really like a struggle, right? So by 2011, so that's our third season in, we said, let's give this season a go. This will be our last season. We'll pack it up, chalk it up to experience. At least we gave it a go. It wasn't for us, but just, with business to become successful, you always need a little bit of luck,
That's right?
So there was a food truck festival at the time that was just launched that year called What the Truck. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I loved it, and I went there, and I was always like, what is this?
Yeah,
because it was just was it the one that was held kind of, I want to say right beside Katuki's, or where that area was?
The first iterations were like in Churchill Square.
Right.
Actually, they picked I forgot what the name of that, Beaver Hill Park or something like that. There was this really tiny, so the first one, so it was started by this food blogger in the city. Her name's Sharon Yo, and she and her partner at the time, well, her husband or partner, they would travel all over the States. And there was this food truck festival called Off the Grid in San Francisco. And she was like, wow, that's a really cool concept, you know, gathering a bunch of food trucks, you know, having them set up in like a park and then just like invite people and have some entertainment and stuff like that. So when she came to us with this idea, we're like, oh, we'd love to be part of it. We'd love to participate. So we were one of the original food trucks in the very first inaugural What the Truck. There was like 7 trucks, and most of them were like carny trucks, like selling like mini donuts and stuff. But there were a couple that were like, you know, kind of like visionaries where they were like, hey, we noticed these food trucks in the States, and they wanted to do something similar to that. And we were like of that same mindset, right? So what happened at that first What the Truck is like, so we had the longest lineup out of all of the 7 trucks.
Nice.
And by one, I guess, a stroke of luck, the University of Alberta sent some delegates down to What the Truck to see what's cool and exciting in the world of food in Edmonton. And so so 2 guys were in line, waited a little bit, because they came up and they said, oh, this is a really cool concept. Where do you guys do this? And we're like, well, we do it on Rice Hard Way. We do a couple like farmers markets and stuff like that. So the one guy comes around to the back and he's like, can I talk to you for a second? We had this really long line. I'm like, sure.
Like,
I only got like a minute.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, would you guys be interested in doing this on U of A campus? We're like, yeah, like,
absolutely, yeah.
for sure. When? And they're like, this summer. Like, so that was kind of like our foot in the door to get into the university. And that was kind of like our, the step from being like this seasonal food truck business to like a, you know, like a legit, like
continuous,
12-month, a year business. Yeah, continuous business. So what happened is that, so these 2 guys are from Aramark. Aramark is a multinational food services company, and they basically are the main contractor for food services for U of A as well as MacEwan. So I didn't know this at the time. I thought they were from University of Alberta, looking like for, you know, food options, food concepts. So what happened is, so we dealt with Aramark. They said, yeah, come on campus. You can do this for the summer. And they really liked what we did. We got a really great response, obviously, because like on university campuses, food is not the greatest. There's not much variety. And you're looking at really, you know, processed type of like
always
fast food.
The same. It's like
Always
there's
the
always
same.
a Tim's.
There's always a Tim's,
There's
always
a
a Subway. Yeah.
Like it's never like there's any sort of variety. They're like,
Yeah.
you'll eat this and then like you'll enjoy it. And
Yeah,
like,
that's it.
Because I can't go anywhere else and then nothing's nearby within
Yeah.
like a walking distance. So
That's it.
I'm sure it was like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. So yeah, so when people saw our trailer in the middle of Quad, so Quad is this like big grassy area right in the heart of the campus. They were like, oh, this is cool. So we got really great response. Our lineups were super long. And then Aramark, the manager, was like, his name's Sean. He's like, hey, we really like what you're doing. We've got a vacant spot in one of our food courts in one of the buildings. Would you be interested in taking that over and doing what you guys do, your menu? And we're like, okay.
Yeah.
So, well, let me talk to Rolf for a little bit. And we're like, yeah, you know. So he was more. He was working at the Mr. Accordia Hospital. He was in healthcare, and but he was like, you know what? I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to handle this full time.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
You can continue. Like I was like, well, I can't really quit my job. We really need like, you know, well, let's say it doesn't work. You know, we have to somehow pay for, you know, for supplies and stuff like that. You know, so I continued to work in my full-time job at the time, and he's like, I'll do it. So he took the first step, and so that was in September of 2011. December of 2011, MacEwan University gets wind of what we're doing at U of A, and so they're like, hey,
you? Come here.
Yeah. So December 2011, we had a meeting with the Aramark guy there, and who's actually like now the executive director of campus services. So he went from Aramark, went to the client side, and now he's like this big wig.
Oh,
and
nice.
He's a great friend of ours. You know, he's seen us through like our, you know, not even a business to like what we are now type of thing. And so he's been a huge supporter of us. So he's like, yeah, we want you here in January. So come September 2011, January 2012, we're now in 2 indoor kiosks. So we go from food truck to 2 indoor kiosks.
That's awesome.
September 2012, they offer us another kiosk at the university. So within a year, we had expanded to like 3
Places and still the food truck?
and still the food truck.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was something that we had like not even, we didn't even have any, I guess like intention of growing that quickly, doing those kind of things. But it was just like, you know, things roll and just roll with the punches type of thing. So I obviously had to like quit my full-time job. Roel was like, hey, okay, I can't do this bowl. I can't do 2 locations.
He's
you
like,
gotta,
"Now we
you gotta
have,
make
like
a decision.
3. Come
Yeah.
on, like how long do you need
Yeah.
till you hop in here too?
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, fine. I
So
guess you
he's like, you got to make a decision.
Yeah.
It's either we make a go of this, like this is for real, or not. So I was like, okay, let's make a go of this. So yeah, so I took over the McEwen location, and then when they offered us the 3rd location, Roel's like, you know what? I got to call my brother. He's gonna help us out. There you go. Right? We were talking
So there's,
about
like,
the
full-
family.
So I want to ask then, because
He
like
gets paid. He gets paid.
No. Unlike me, when I was like starting out with family, like every time you had like anyone who opened the restaurant and you were young, you would come and help out, and then you're like, so my compensation, and they're like, love. I'm like, nah, I was thinking more money, but sure. But like, so we've had some folks that we've interviewed who began businesses with family.
Yeah.
And I know that like you
Oh,
obviously
and
went
then
to
ended
business
up-
school.
Yeah.
And you know that like there is a saying that's like never let family and business mix. How did you find the perfect? Were you guys just like the cousins that got along
Yeah,
super well?
100%.
Ah, okay, cool.
100%. So what happened is Roel and I had kind of been like, we're 5 years apart. So he was really actually closer to my younger sister. They were in the same grade, went through elementary, junior high, high school together. So they were really tight. And then he discovered techno music. And at that time, so that's like, I guess late 90s,
Yeah, I was
early
gonna say, yeah, 90s
2000s.
would be,
So,
yeah.
and I was really into techno music. So we had a bond there. So we were like DJs as well, like in our former life. So yeah. So we'd always been tight. We'd always been like doing stuff together. Yeah, we just had this bond, you know, like we didn't really need to, we hung out all the time, but we just on the same wavelength, you know what I mean? So getting into like a restaurant business or food truck business was just a logical progression type of thing.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, I mean, to this day, we rarely ever fight, and when we do, it's really like World War III.
But I'm sure
Because there's so much emotion.
Yeah,
there's
of
so much
course. Yeah.
like feelings and stuff involved. So when we have a disagreement, it gets really. But like we're at the point where it's like, we work it out and stuff like that. And I know there's times where we've had some family that have been part of the business that just didn't work out. That happens. And so his brother, who started with us, who opened the one of the other locations at the U of A, he's been with us since the beginning. Same thing. He's just super chill guy, and I think we all share that vision and we all share that passion at the same time. So it was easy for us to kind of like work through all of the ins and outs and like disagreements and things like that. So yeah, I totally understand.
Plus, I must imagine that it would be difficult to like have the disagreements. Then the next family dinner, you're like,
yeah, it gets all weird. Yeah.
So you're like, all right, we'll patch it up.
It's happened.
Yeah,
It's happened. Trust me. Yeah.
But but that's always like the wonderfulness of it too, is that like your family, you kind of like you get to know like the background of like I grew up with you, I know who you are and how you are as an individual.
Yes.
And then I also get to bring you into the business, and you're both as passionate.
Yeah.
Did you find that like you could quickly tell who was in it to just like, oh, you have this successful business, I just want to be part of it, and who was like, I'm actually passionate about food.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
Sure.
what was the kind of indicator that gives you like, you're in it for the passion, or you're in it just?
Well, I mean, those who are like, especially when we opened up the brick and mortar in 2019, like it was about like, I need to get the best shifts, I need to get the most tips, you know, like what's happening with our tips, what's happening with like shifts, like, oh, this person's getting like a really busy shift and I'm getting shafted, you know what I mean? It's like, well, we're all in this together. We're all pushing in the same direction, like that shouldn't be the case you know, and then, you know, there's always like that power struggle, right? Like but just because you're close or just because you're family, doesn't mean you get to get treated differently than somebody who's not family, and somebody who's been there since the beginning, right? Like, just because you're family doesn't mean you get any special treatment or whatever, right? And you don't get to talk to me or Roel that way, even though you're family, right? Like, just because you're family. Because I know if I had staff who had the same issues, they wouldn't be talking in that way to us.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it'd be really more professional and really more like collaborative versus like, oh, I don't want to do this.
Like, hey, boss, we have this issue.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I don't want to do this. And you're like, how do you? Yeah, no, that's kind of the reason why like it's very like amazing to hear when you do work with family and it works out well.
Yeah.
Because so many times, like, yeah, we've had that where like I never did because I was like, you know, I'll do my job and I'll go home and I guess I'm not getting paid. And then later that was like amended as I began to go to high school because they suddenly decided like, oh, you're in high school, you need money. I'm like, yes, I do because college is coming up, right? But like throughout that, when I had other family members join, there was a lot of like, well, the owner's my uncle. So I'm like, yeah, but like, how do you think that would make staff feel?
Sure.
If they're like struggling and they want you to help and then they can't tell you anything because you're like, oh, this is my uncle, I get special treatment. Like, it's like, you're not really contributing to the whole ecosystem of like making the restaurant successful.
That's right.
Like,
That's right.
So that's always amazing that like not only 1, 2, 3, is it still the 3 family members or did you expand?
They're at our peak, I think we had 6 or 7 family members.
Wow.
Now we're down to 4. Down to 4. But
No,
yeah. But I mean, like, we've all grown up together. Like, we all are in the same kind of like generation, same age bracket. Maybe just like the widest gap is like 10 years or whatever. But you know, 10 years when you're a kid is huge.
Yeah.
But like when you're in adulthood, 10 years is really nothing, right? So, and that's funny. One of our first family members that joined, that Roel hired, he has now come back to us like just a couple months ago. So, full circle.
Yeah, it just
full
comes
circle.
through. No, that's fantastic. So then I have to ask, like, as you're discussing, you're saying that like you opened up multiple shops.
Yep.
I imagine that because you had in this point in the story so many open shops and brick and mortars, like physical locations, that the truck probably wasn't going out as often because
so
probably spread thin, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely. And you know, at the time, like the food truck business is really, really tough. Like, it's a grind. Like, you gotta, you know, prep early in the morning, you gotta go out for lunch, you gotta clean when you come back, you gotta go prep again, and then you gotta go out again, like for dinner, and it really is a grind. So at the time when we had like more stable kind of locations up and running, which had, you know, when a location is like stationary or in a location, with all the equipment there, you know, like walk-in cooler, stuff like that, it's definitely a lot easier, a lot more efficient. And the food truck was just like, you know what, let's just use it as a marketing tool for the events that we do. So we've done Folk Fest, Edmonton Folk Music Festival since 2008, 2009 in that area. So we've been a staple there. And so we always, do that festival. And then it ended up like we were doing multiple festivals, music festivals, farmers markets. So we kind of trimmed those down. The farmers market was actually very interesting. We got into that as well in 2008 into the city. It's called City Market on 104th at the time.
That one. Okay.
Downtown farmers market. And that's kind of where we really established ourselves. Like, that was like a really well-run and really well-attended farmers market. It was busy every Saturday. And so we would build our brand that way. Like, people would come and try our food and be like, oh, you have a restaurant? Oh, no, this is what we got, type of thing. And so, so every time that we would kind of like talk to people, oh, we have a food truck. Oh, you guys are at farmers market. So that was kind of like, when people associated us with Filistix, they would say, oh, you guys are at the farmers market. Oh, you guys are at Folk Fest. So those are the kind of like things that that really helped us kind of build our brand. Yeah, and then by the time that you know, the U of A location and the two U of A locations and the one McEwen location were up and running, and it was like kind of like a well-oiled machine. We were like, you know what, do we really need the food truck anymore? So we ended up selling that to a couple friends who do bucha, like kombucha.
Oh,
the brand
nice.
is called
Okay,
Bucha
yeah.
Yeg.
Yeah.
So they actually took it off our hands to do events and stuff like that. I don't know where it is now. I think they sold that off to another group. But again, full circle. During the pandemic, oh my gosh, where can we go with this? So
no, that's
so yeah, well, so should we talk about the pandemic real quick?
yeah,
Real
of course.
quick.
Yeah, that event that went by
That
in
went-
2 weeks.
yeah.
No, that's of course.
So we had no intentions of like opening up a restaurant at all. We were really happy with where we were. But as you know, things go, and like the next logical step was to open up a restaurant. We put it on hold for a long time because like, so we opened our first I guess indoor kiosk in 2011. We didn't open up the restaurant until 2019 of May
wow.
2019. So that's an 8-year
Oh
span
no!
of not.
Hold on, I'm doing that math there. Okay, so May 2019, you open up a restaurant.
Yeah,
And correct me if I'm wrong, but a certain event
happened 10 months later, right?
Oh no! Okay.
So, you know, yeah. So what happened was that, like, you know, people were like, hey, you guys should open up a restaurant on campus because like lots of people love you, and a lot of students have now graduated and they're not going to come back on campus, you know, just for your food. You know, we got these comments like, you know, all the time, and so we thought, okay, maybe we'll look into that. So what happened is that we had friends who opened up, you know, Duchess Bake Shop.
That's right. Yeah.
We were friends with them, and they said, hey, we're opening up a new spot off of 124th. We're actually like going into like this huge space. We're going to be opening up a restaurant and like a cooking school and like a provisions or an atelier shop and stuff. And we're like, how are you possibly doing this? They're like, well, you know what? I'll send you the name of our banker. And it's right now, ATB at the time was really, really interested in supporting local entrepreneurs. And not just like local entrepreneurs, but local like food and beverage or food retail entrepreneurs, which is a very, very risky endeavor. And banks were just not open to doing that. But there is this program called the Canadian Small Business Loan Program or something like that. They're like, this is how we got ours, because like these banks are now like looking to these kinds of businesses and like taking a risk on them because the loan is guaranteed by the Canadian government. So it's like no risk to the bank. So like, shoot,
We'll
send
take
us,
it. Yeah. Of course.
send us the information. You know, like revamped our business plan back to like the kind of like a restaurant business plan. It was like this thick, and you know, had a meeting with the rep, and he's like, I really love, you know, I eat your food, I love your food, blah blah blah.
Oh, that must have helped.
Yeah,
the process so
big
much
time.
faster. Yeah.
And
It's like
so
approved. Yeah.
exactly. So we're like, okay, we're now going to open up a restaurant, and that process was another. We can have another conversation about that, like the do's and don'ts of like how to
open a restaurant.
Like,
No, yeah, that's.
So open up a restaurant May 2019. You know, like had a really good honeymoon phase. You know, when restaurants open, especially with social media, you're blasted out. You know, you get really, really busy.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then reality sets in. Like, so we opened in May. By like the following fall, it started to like peter out a little bit. You're like, where are all these people? So we're like, okay, this is not like where we thought that it would go. And then
Of course, yeah.
spring comes of
You're
2020.
like, this is terrible. I hope nothing else happens that's
And
worse. Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
So
So it was really, really a big blow. But at the same time, we really learned a lot about ourselves as business owners, and as well as like as a company itself. Like we really learned a lot about like what we could do and what our capacity was. And so really within the like the first day that they shut indoor dining, we launched our we launched our own in-house delivery service, and it was really
so
just
you
as a
shifted, like,
yeah. We
that's-
just
okay,
I
okay.
love the term pivoted.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate that word, but
That's why I didn't say it. That's why I
yeah.
was like, shifted.
So we shifted,
Yeah.
and we offered our own in-house delivery service. So what happened is, like, when the pandemic hit, it was right in the middle of Downtown Dining Week, which is a really awesome initiative by the Downtown Business Association to bring people from all over the city to the downtown core to try all these cool
Foods and
downtown
awesome,
restaurants,
yeah.
right? So we're right in the middle of it, and we started getting calls from customers saying, "Hey, I'm gonna have to cancel my reservation." So by the third or fourth cancellation, I flipped the script on them and was like, "Would you be interested or open to us delivering the Downtown Dining Week menu to your door?" And they were like, "Yeah." So
of course,
like
yeah.
99% of the people were like, "Yeah, of course." So that's how our delivery service got launched without any thinking, just literally knee-jerk reaction. That afternoon on Monday that they shut everything down, I went to like Russell Hendricks and got like these those insulated Campbell bags.
Nice, yeah.
And and it worked really, really well, because like a lot of restaurants, they were really like in shell shock. They didn't know what to do. So a lot of them like closed their doors temporarily for a few weeks, few months to figure out what's going to happen, right? But us, we never closed our door. Not one day did we close our door. We just, said, how are we going to, how are we going to pay our staff? How are we going to like survive? We need to keep the doors open. So if people aren't open to coming into the restaurant or comfortable coming into the restaurant, we got to get our food to our customers. So that's kind of like where our approach was, or what our thinking was. And a lot of people might be saying, "Oh, that was kind of reckless and irresponsible," but at the same time, it's like reckless and irresponsible not to put food on the table for our staff and for ourselves.
In many facets, like for everyone, for you, your customers, business, like to make everything happen. Because like it's interesting that like when you say this, and we've heard like other business owners kind of talk about like how they had to like adapt and like shift to like, oh, we opened up this, like some restaurants had like big room restaurants. They're like, I can't have people dine in here. And as amazing as takeout is, I'm still paying rent for this giant space.
That's exactly
so
it.
they're like, what can I do here? And then one of the, like, I don't want to say crazy solutions, but like I enjoyed hearing about it, is like they had other businesses run out of that space.
Yeah,
because
like
they're like,
ghost kitchen
we
type
can,
of
like
thing.
we can only use the kitchen. We can't have anyone physically in the space like eating, but we can use the space as like storage for them, so they can operate like, and so they merge together to make each other happen, because like those shops had warehouses that also suffered, from transport and everything. I imagine the same thing too. Like shortages were also a huge thing that like no one could really anticipate this, and I'm sure that like no one had a business plan for COVID, as I say, right?
For sure
so like all of the kind of like shifting, adapting that you had to do was, like you said, probably on the spot from you, like probably flipping through the calendar and going, hey, so like everyone's canceling coming in here.
Yes.
We have probably like, I imagine like tons of
so
food
much
and
stock,
like
so much
and, like,
inventory that was like really going to go bad.
Yeah.
And then, and the thing is, so our U of A location shut, our McEwen location shut, right? Because like the universities were the very first to like, and government were the very first to like say, hey, we're not coming to work, right? So we really had our restaurant to kind of like, basically feed our family, like our Filistix family, not just like my family, but and Roel's family, but also like our staff. Unfortunately, we did have to lay off some front house staff that we couldn't use, but we kept our core kitchen staff with the deliveries and things like that, and like bringing in like the third party meal delivery apps and stuff really helped. I really didn't want to. It wasn't part of our plan, just because of like the huge commissions that they take, right? Their percentage that they take is just massive, right? And it's almost like
to be the fifth person to tell us this. I'm starting to like wonder about like, okay, fascinating. Huh?
But at the same time, it was like, Skip and Uber were blowing up at the time, because like nobody could leave, nobody, but they still needed to eat,
you do, really?
right? So it was, a necessary evil that we had to bring them on. But at the same time, it was like we realized that the money that was coming in is cash flow, right? So the money coming in, even though we don't make any profit, we're actually losing money, but it gives us the money to pay our staff.
Yeah, of course.
Pay our debtor, like our rent and stuff like that. And, a lot of the government subsidies that came through the pipe were really awesome. Like, they must have like reviewed, a ton of different models of businesses, small businesses, and we fell in that sweet spot because it really, really helped us out. And at the same time, like I was telling you, like we learned a lot about our company and, where to trim the fat and where not. And so we became more, I guess, efficient and more tight as a company. Our labor expense was just too high going into the pandemic, and that was hurting us. And so we became really tight, and we've really figured out that, a lot of our staff can do more than one thing type thing, right? And, they're willing to do more than one thing. And we were really, really thankful and grateful that the staff that we had were on the same page, and they shared the vision, and they were like family, right?
They wanted to be there.
Yeah.
And I'm sure like that must be the same thing for all your clientele too. The fact that like
they wanted to support us.
Yeah,
because,
no one really like considers this, but like truly your clientele, when they're being hit with like Skip and Uber and all these promotions to all these other locations, the fact that they continued to stay like loyal, wanted to support you. Like I know from interviewing other folks that they're like, I'm so thankful for the community we built because, had they not come through, order and do their orders,
that's it.
The regulars.
That's exactly it.
You're posting up, the for lease signs early because it's like you lose that community and that love is gone. So with Filistix, you had said that one of the biggest things you wanted to do and drive with it, because we talked off camera, of course, is that you wanted to drive beyond just catering to like just Filipino individuals and that culture.
Yeah.
What kind of drove that decision?
So Roel and I, second-gen Filipinos, meaning that we were born here, right? So our parents immigrated from the Philippines, back in the 60s, 70s. And so our experiences with Filipino cuisine are, of course, through our parents and through our grandparents, our Lola. We share a Lola. So Lola is a grandmother.
Nice.
And awesome cook. But, like, I don't want to be cliche and saying, we learned all our, cooking from there. It was just that we were exposed to really, really good food through our Lola, through our moms and our Lola, right? So, but at the same time, our Lola had to adapt her recipes based on what ingredients were available here in Canada, right? So, calamansi is a type of citrus fruit. You can't get it. Well, now you can. You can go to like T&T but before at the time. So you had to make do with like lemons or limes, things like that, right? So the taste, the flavor profiles were a little bit similar, but not the same. So that's kind of what shaped like our palate, right? But so when we develop a recipe or when we serve like chicken adobo, which is like adobo is basically the national dish of the Philippines. And adobo, the word adobo comes from the Spanish term adobar. So the Philippines was a colony of Spain for about 400 years, almost 400 years. So a lot of the names of dishes or a lot of the dishes were inspired by Spanish cuisine.
Okay.
Not necessarily like one-to-one kind of translation. So adobar means to marinate, and it's usually in spices in Spanish cuisine. Okay. But in Filipino cuisine, it's a method of cooking or a method of preserving, and it's using vinegar as like the main component. So history lesson, I guess.
No,
but
this is fantastic. I'm like, yes, yeah, okay, great, yeah.
So adobo is the national dish of the Philippines, and we kind of repurposed it and kind of made our own version of adobo, which was like, instead of braising it in like vinegar and soy sauce and garlic and herbs and spices, we roasted chicken, like you would normally have a roast chicken thigh, and then we made like an adobo glaze or adobo sauce, like almost like a gravy, and poured it over. All of the flavor profiles are there, like all of the ingredients are there, but it's not authentic, traditional adobo. And so we always got like criticism from like, Filipinos are like, that's not adobo. Like my mom's adobo is adobo. That's not adobo.
If it's not swimming in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so So that's one thing that we realized, we never claim to be authentic in any way, but we want to pay homage and pay respect to the food of our heritage. And so, our mission since day one, so like doing the Filipino barbecue and things like that, was really to introduce and educate them to dining public of Filipino cuisine, because we know that it's very underrepresented in terms of restaurants, but it's also very underrated in terms of Asian cuisine. So there's what I call the big five.
Yeah.
There's Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Thai, and Vietnamese. These are the big five in terms of like what are the most popular.
You literally
Filipino-
listed them as I was doing them in my
Right.
head too, because I'm like, of course, there's like little like kind of what's become like little Koreatown.
Yeah.
Like China. I'm like,
Yeah.
And then like Japanese was like, I'm like, but as you were saying it, I was like, yeah, like I'm struggling. Like I can only name and I won't name it because we have, I guess here, one other like spot. And
Sure,
then
sure.
like, but that's all I could think of in the back of my head.
That's
But
right.
as you're naming all of these, I'm like, I could name 5 there. I could name 5 there. I could
Exactly,
name 5, yeah, so-
exactly. And like with the number of like Filipinos, the Filipino community in Edmonton is huge. The Filipino community in North America is huge, and it's really what's the word? Disproportionate of the number of Filipinos in Edmonton versus how many restaurants, Filipino restaurants, and it's even more disproportionate with how many the Thai population in Edmonton versus how many Thai restaurants there are, right? So it's like we just want to be part of that conversation. When people are like, "Oh, let's go for Asian food. Where do you want to go?" "Oh, sushi." "Oh, let's go for Chinese,
yeah.
or let's go for pho." Right? These are like the first, like
Go-tos,
top of
yeah.
mind, right? So we just want to be part of that conversation. And so the way that we feel is, this is our approach. The way that we feel is the best way to kind of like be part of that conversation is to make Filipino cuisine less intimidating in terms of, like, we call Filipino food really ugly delicious. There's that, I don't know if you've, there's a Netflix documentary called Ugly Delicious, and it was started by this Korean like celebrity chef David Chang, and he talks about like how real food is really ugly, but it's super delicious if you go to any culture, any ethnic, like, so adobo is not the nicest thing to look at, but when you taste it, you're like, oh my God, this is so good, right?
Oh, okay, I get you.
So Filipino food is ugly delicious in our opinion. A lot of like offcuts, a lot of offal or like innards and organs and stuff like that. So what we've tried to do is try to make it accessible. So, instead of like, a braised chicken dish or a braised pork dish, you would have like a roasted chicken with a gravy on it, which is what people, when they look at it, they're like, oh, that's just like chicken and gravy, right? So that's kind of like our approach to like Filipino cuisine is making it a little bit more accessible, really staying true to the flavor profiles and the ingredients, but making it less intimidating to.
Oh, okay.
So for example, caldereta. Beef caldereta is another popular Filipino stew. And really, it's just a tomato-based stew. There's a lot of tomato-based stew in a lot of cuisines, right? One of the ingredients in caldereta is liver pate or liver spread to give the sauce richness, right?
Okay.
But liver is not
Yeah.
readily acceptable flavor, right? So we had to like fiddle around with it and figure out how not to use, liver spread, and we also wanted to like, respect like the ferments in Filipino cuisine. Ferments meaning like the stuff that's fermented. That really is what gives for Filipino food its flavor, right? So patis is fish sauce. A lot of fish sauce in Vietnamese food.
Yeah.
People have readily accepted fish sauce in
yeah.
Vietnamese food, right? So it's like, how do you make fish sauce in Filipino cuisine readily acceptable? So using in small quantities and stuff like that. Also, bagoong. Bagoong is fermented shrimp paste, which is like, in my opinion, like our version of the Japanese miso. Miso is like fermented soybeans, right?
Okay.
So every, especially in Asian cultures or Asian countries, they have ferments. So bagoong we use quite a lot in our menu at our downtown location, and I'll tell you about our different menus in our downtown restaurant. So. So that's always been our approach. Our mission is to really introduce and educate
and make
the Edmonton dining public of Filipino cuisine, right? And Filipino culture at the same time. So let's I guess fast forward to our Edmonton, Filistix downtown is the name of our restaurant downtown.
Nice.
And the concept is a little bit different than Filistix Sub, which is our U of A location. That is predominantly all quick service, right? Like rice bowls,
okay.
quick
So it's
rice
just
bowls,
like
right?
going through, okay.
Bang them out really quick, and we have some Filipino dishes, but not all. And really, the reason why we fashioned our menu that way is that so we appeal to a broad audience, right? It's kind of hard, like if people don't even know about Filipino food, they're not really going to come back every day for Filipino cuisine. So a lot of different dishes are kind of like repurposed, and some Filipino, but some not. Our McEwen location is also kind of similar, but that's a food hall concept. So we have multiple different concepts. We have within a food hall. So we have a pasta, and then we have Filistix, and then we have a sandwich concept, and so there's
It's
something
like
for everybody.
integrated. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I like that. That's
So Filistix downtown or brick and mortar is like our passion project, and that's what I was telling you about. Like, hey, we could go through another, interview about like the do's and don'ts.
of course, yeah.
But as a passion project, we really wanted to make it something like we picked that location just because of the density of the downtown core, but we also wanted to be kind of like moving into like finding out what our identity as a restaurant, right? So our menu in the day, like lunchtime, is different than our menu at night.
Okay.
And then our menu on the weekends is even more like, so we have 3 different menus, right?
So you hear that, you got to come different times too.
That's right. Yeah. 3 different menus for 3 different day parts, right? So our lunchtime menu at downtown is similar to like our quick service, meaning it's all rice bowls, but really focused on kind of the more traditional Filipino dishes like Bicol Express or pancit or caldereta, and it's really like the more the traditional way of cooking it in a rice bowl, right? Our brunch menu, Saturdays and Sundays, it adheres to like a Filipino breakfast staple. So they're called silogs.
Nice.
So silog means so it's a mash of 2 words. Si is sinangag, which means garlic fried rice. Log means itlog, which is like a fried egg. So all of those dishes come with garlic fried rice and an egg, and then you pair like a different protein with it, right? So beef tapa is a marinated beef, like thinly sliced beef sirloin. That's a really popular dish. We have tosilog, which is like, so that's tapsilog. Tosilog is tocino, which is like a cured pork, like shaved pork.
Nice.
This is really, looks almost like bacon. It doesn't taste like bacon, but it's like Filipino style bacon. We have long silog, which is a pork sausage. And then we have bang silog, which is bangus, which is a milk fish, which is a type of like marinated fish.
Ooh.
So, and all of these come with fried egg on top. So it's really kind of like quintessential Filipino breakfast.
Nice.
And then we have some kind of like cool different menu items like a longanisa benedict. So we make like a eggs benedict, but with a longanisa patty, and we use calamansi to flavor like the hollandaise. And we do a brunch burger using a longanisa patty as well.
I love and like the incorporation, like you're kind of like blending what folks are kind of like, I guess, would be accustomed to here, but also introducing something that's like, try it with this.
Yeah,
have
so
it with
like a
this.
gateway
Like, yeah,
drug, right?
Exactly.
Like
That's
so
fantastic.
So for
Yeah,
for a longanisa benedict, I know what people, first time comers, they're like, oh, I know what a eggs benedict is. So okay, let's try this, right? Like a brunch burger. Oh, I know what a brunch burger is. It's got a fried egg on top. Yeah, so let's try that, right? So those are that's like I was telling you, that's kind of our approach to developing our menu. So now the dinner menu at Filistix downtown, and I'm super proud of our dinner menu, is really kind of like where our vision is at and our head is at in terms of like introducing Filipino cuisine, and it's really starting to become trendy, especially in the U.S. and in the Philippines, where they're really elevating Filipino cuisine. So, like I said, a lot of Filipino cuisine is not very pretty, but it's also more or less share like family style, right? So you order a big pot of caldereta to share with whoever's at your table, right? So there's this food movement in Europe, in Paris, called bistronomy, and it's
Nice.
basically
Gastronomy, I like
these
that.
these chefs who are Michelin star chefs who want to open up these little cool, like really accessible spots and not charge like $300 a plate type thing or a tasting menu. So all of these like chefs are like, hey, you know what? I'm sick of this Michelin star stuff. I want to open up my own spot and I want to make awesome food. The food looks nice on the plate, but charge like very, very reasonable for it. So that's this movement that was started like, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago or whatever. So that's really been stuck in our heads about how we should develop our menu for Filistix downtown dinner. So we call it a bistro menu. So similar to like the bistros in Paris. So everything is like a la carte. And it's like super nicely plated. But like the elements are a little bit different than your typical, Filipino. So kare kare. So kare kare is a oxtail stew, and it's an oxtail stew in peanut sauce.
Nice.
It's super rich, super thick, super hearty, and it's like stick to the bones, and it's like really, really comfort food, right? But, like if somebody who's never really tasted Filipino cuisine, are they going to order kare kare?
Yeah.
Probably not. It's really like, I don't know.
Yeah, to be like oxtail, people
Yeah.
are like, like
Right?
right before like you have it, which like fantastic by the way if you haven't. But like if you don't, like I remember like the very first time like I was probably something like that. It was a Jamaican restaurant. I was
Yeah.
like, oxtail. I'm like I was like, let's give it a go because everyone's like you have to try it here.
Yeah.
And then but like
It was amazing. Okay.
yeah, it was fantastic. But I was like in my head if I had to think like an animal I've never really thought about, and then like tail, I'm like. And like you said, like the ugly delicious concept comes up because I'm like, in my head, envisioning what this dish would be was different than what I was presented.
For sure.
Was different from how awesome it tasted. But
Yeah.
like my immediate mental image was like, I don't know, tail of an animal, like that's bizarre. But like, you're right. Like it's like, and as you come through it, like hearing about it now, I'm like,
Yeah.
I bet you that's like super delicious.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Well,
Because yeah.
so our kare kare is like a deconstructed riff on the oxtail stew. So we're not using oxtail, unfortunately, and one day we will. We'll bring it in. But we take like a steak, like a flank steak. We sous vide it, we sear it, and then we also have like a peanut sauce, which is like really quintessential part of the dish. And then all of the like the vegetal components are adhered to. Like there's bok choy, there's green beans, eggplant. So we make a puree out of the eggplant, and then we saute like the green beans and the bok choy in bagoong. Bagoong is like that's the only condiment that comes with kare kare. Like you have to have bagoong, like the fermented shrimp paste with kare kare. So we saute in butter and bagoong the vegetables. So like all of the flavor components are there. It's just presented in a way that would be not your traditional kare kare. And that's what, I don't know, I don't want to say, but it tricks people, right? Like people are like, oh, that looks like something I've seen before at the Mark, which is like a block away from us, right? Oh, that looks like, when they try it, they're like, oh my God, like this is awesome. Like
You really just need it to get here, and then once it does,
That's it.
It sells everything.
That's
Because
it.
like if you read and like try, like I said, like once I read oxtail, I was like, but as soon as like this, I'm like, you know what, doesn't look too bad. And then once it hit here, I was like, I love this, right? But in the process, like you have so many barriers that you're just like, no, and then it's like just be a little adventurous, like give it a shot, and I won't say tricking because like I feel like you're taking something that they're like accustomed to and going, come here, like you said, like gateway drug earlier, like come here, give it a try. If you don't like it, it's fine, but I know you will. And like as soon as it hits there, I'm sure we will come back for it like
That's it.
nobody's business.
That's it.
You have got me getting super hungry because you talked about all of these amazing foods, and I know that you have brought a whole bunch with you.
Yes.
So I'm wondering if we can quickly take a break and come back to having this awesome food, and if you're good with that.
Sure, absolutely.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, folks, we'll be back in just a few seconds. All right, folks, welcome back. I am so excited. I know I never shut up about this, but I wish we did have smell-o-vision because this smells amazing. And I'm so excited. I know that we were having an awesome conversation, but the more you talked about the food, the more I was like, all right, I have to try this. I have to let the folks at home see a dish or like me just enjoying the food that you're talking about, because I'm like, I'm sold on everything that you were saying. Like, yeah, we'll definitely have that. Like, fantastic to hear about it, but it's a whole nother thing to actually try it and have it on camera. Can you tell us what it is we're having today?
Okay. How do I unpack this one? So,
oh, nice.
This dish. Okay, so this dish is called South Pacific coconut mussels, and there are a bunch of different inspirations for this dish. So, one of the very first dishes or menu items that we launched at our university location, our first university location, we did it's called South Pacific coconut chicken. And it's probably it probably is our most popular dish. And it is basically our version of a traditional Filipino dish called ginatan manok. Manok means chicken. Ginatan means to prepare or cook in coconut milk. So it's coconut milk braised chicken braised in coconut milk.
Okay.
Again, to make it accessible and kind of follow our values and mission. So what we did, we didn't braise the chicken in coconut milk. What we did is we roasted chicken, and then we made a coconut milk sauce, but we added a touch of curry spice, because I love curry spice. And my mom also made a coconut curry dish that I remember growing up with, and I just devoured it. But this one is a little bit more towards like a Southeast Asian inspired versus like Filipino inspired, but still adhering to the flavor profiles and things like that. So the sauce contains coconut milk and sautéed garlic and onions and ginger and a hint of curry spice. It's a simple dish or simple sauce to make, but the flavor is just like awesome.
Okay, I'm excited.
So that was our riff on ginatan manok, and this is an even more riff on our South Pacific coconut chicken. And this is we integrate mussels, and this is on our menu at Filistix downtown on the dinner menu. And again, I was talking to you about like our inspiration about like French bistro cuisine and French bistronomy.
That's it.
On any French,
love the plating.
Yes, on any French menu, you'll see mussels or moule, and it's usually moule marinière, which is like a white wine garlic tomato sauce. Ours is with the South Pacific coconut sauce. Ooh. And so we steam the mussels in the South Pacific coconut sauce, and then we toasted a little bit of baguette for dipping.
Nice.
And as you can see, we've got a little bit of like red leaf sorrel. What that does, it gives kind of imparts of a citrusy flavor, like the herb is citrusy, so it's almost like squeezing lemon on top. But yeah, like we're really proud of this dish just because it's a riff on a riff on a riff, but at the same time, it's like, Filipino at its nature.
So going back to kind of like how you said that you like to so much like trick or like introduce.
Yeah.
The mussels are a nice introduction to the sauce itself.
That's right.
Okay.
And I'm catching up. I'll just use your spoon here, and then I'll kind of like open it up, and as you can see, like the coconut sauce and the curries underneath there.
Bottom there.
Yeah, super flavorful. And yeah, did you want to give it a try?
So
you can either like break it open here.
Oh, nice.
Pull in a mussel. Dip it in a little bit of sauce.
Oh yeah, nice. So for the folks at home, look how awesome that sauce looks.
Oh, here we go. Does it work?
That's, again, I wish like I like, how do I describe, like, I'm not a foodie by nature, but the mussels are delicious, nice and soft. That sauce is amazing. I'm a huge fan of spice and spices. So that sauce,
it's not hot. It's not like
it's like
spice as in heat. It's just there's a lot of like
spices,
flavor and stuff going on there, right?
No, that's fantastic.
Coconut milk.
Yeah, like it's so like I like the description is like it's like buttery, like it has that like hearty, like I know Rebecca's staring because she's probably gonna have some too. Yeah, she's just like ready. But like, oh man, that's just amazing. And then like, I'm still getting like all these crazy flavor profiles. I have like no clue how to describe it because you folks will have to try it for yourselves. But like, man, oh man, that sauce is just amazing. I'm gonna actually try
dip it with dip it
on
in,
the kind
dip the sauce in the baguette.
Ooh. Well, I guess we'll have leafy greens later, but yeah, just to kind of show you folks the sauce there, like that actually looks so good. Sorry, camera, this is gonna be crunchy.
But love the reaction.
I'm
Love
sold.
the reaction.
I'm sold. This
That's
is like,
what makes me happy, are these reactions.
oh my god, this bread's also fantastic too. By the way, like compliments all around. Yeah, I lost for words. You folks will have to try it. Believe me, like I wish I was lying and I could be that good of an actor, but this is amazing. Like,
I mean, and I think we were talking earlier, like that's what kind of vindicates or justifies like why we love what we do, because you know people who come into the restaurant that I would never expect would enjoy the meal, especially the first timers, and I see the reaction and you see the look on their face that are like, oh my God, this is really, really good. Like something that I don't expect that reaction, and they don't expect to taste that kind of food, right? Because they've never had those kind of flavor profiles before.
This
right?
is
Or those
fantastic.
flavor combinations.
So then I have to ask, I imagine, of course, this wasn't done on the food truck in the slightest because you were like grab and go.
No.
Do you feel like, is your heart still kind of with the food truck because that's where you got started?
Yeah.
Or is it more like you're putting it into making dishes like this, which I imagine must take so much more, and obviously need brick and mortar to keep this going, because I can't imagine
we know what's
mussels,
really nice is now we have the best of both worlds and a different kind of outlook on how we want to develop our food truck menu to be more like this, but at the same time food trucky as well, right? Like, when we were like following the food truck trend in the U.S. or whatever, there's a lot of things that were really cool that they were doing in the U.S. in terms of like Filipino food trucks. Like so tocino, as I mentioned earlier, it's a sugar cured pork, almost like bacon. And there's a food truck in San Francisco called Senior Sisig. And what they do is they make a burrito with tocino. So it's like a really fusion with Mexican cuisine. So like they do like a flour tortilla with the tocino, but some like guacamole and some tomato and stuff and garlic fried rice. And like the flavor combination really, really works. Another thing that we're going to be doing in the food truck is, like I mentioned, sisig. So sisig, maybe as Rekha can identify, it's a drinking food. It's really made to be eaten while you're at a beer house or while you're at a pub.
Oh, nice.
Anthony Bourdain, he actually called out sisig as the next it food. Like, this is what's going to put Filipino food on the map. And so you see a lot of like restaurants, a lot of like cooking shows, a lot of like Food Network shows and stuff talking about sisig. And sisig, typically, how can I describe it? It's ugly delicious. So it's like the pork jowl. So like the jowl of the pork, the ears of the pork or the pig, the snout of the pig. And what it's done, it's prepared in multiple different ways. So you have to like boil these parts. They call it the mascara, so the mask.
Oh, wow.
So you have to boil these parts to make it super tender, and then you grill it on charcoal to make it smoky. And then you put it on, and then you mix it with like there's so many different versions and variations. And so the one that we do is we make a dressing with toyo, which is soy sauce, and calamansi, which is that citrus fruit I was telling you about. And then we drizzle it on top of like we use pork belly, but we also have in the restaurant the pork jowl. We mix it with that, and then we put a little of garlic chili oil on it for a little bit of spice, and then you put it on a sizzling plate.
Oh.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. So that's what they
like-
do in like beer houses or pubs or bars and stuff like that, where you have it with beer. And normally, you can have it with rice, or normally you can have it without rice, but there's a cracked egg on top. So
Oh,
that
okay, nice.
fries at the same time that the dish is sizzling. So it's really kind of like cool to look at, but it's also like so delicious to eat and
Oh,
stuff.
wow.
Yeah.
No, I like
that's
the,
sisig.
the terms of like ugly delicious, because
Yeah.
like as you describe it, I'm like, I don't know, like if I just read like, you know, pork jowls, pork ears, I'm like, but like seeing it and possibly like smelling it and everything will probably make a whole world of difference,
Right.
to trying it out and eating it, and like the fried egg and everything. But like I said, like sometimes like we've had this discussion, was like you'll have a traditional dish, you'll describe what it is, and everyone's like, I'm good. But like it's until you like see it in person, like I said, once you deliver it to here, like
Yeah.
once I've had this,
Once
now
you put
I'm
it
like,
in your mouth, it's over.
I'm
Yeah.
sold, I'm in.
Yeah.
But like, I guess that's the art that you're really trying to cultivate, is to get that there.
Yeah.
So folks will know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
like, the interesting part is like, of everyone we've interviewed, because this is our last episode, everyone knows that what they're making is amazing. The only thing is, no one else knows that what
That's
you're
it.
making is amazing.
That's it.
So it's like trying to get it to them, deliver it to them, and I feel like your passion and like you were so excited to have, you know, once I tried it, I was like, yeah, of course, like, because Lord, if like if it was the other reaction, we'd have to cut this. But like, no one thankfully has been that, because I can just like, immediately as I had it, I was like, everything you described, from how the muscle's gonna be to how the sauce is gonna be to even the bread and the dip and everything, was exactly like what I was like prepared, ready for it, and still not prepared for the flavors that came
flavor,
out
yeah.
and everything that
I'm-
came out. Like,
I mean, this is not a traditional Filipino dish in any way, shape, or form, you know. But if you go to like a regular cafe, bistro, fine dining restaurant, and order mussels, oh, that's familiar, right? But like you said, once you get it into the mouth, then
Yeah.
you're like, oh my God, that's completely
Completely different.
not what I expected.
and
right?
just like such an awesome twist on this, because I would definitely have a lot more mussels if it was done this way, because like you said, usually it's like red wine, like there's always like, I like when you order it, I'm like, I know exactly how this is gonna come.
Sure.
And there's always like a certain like plated way it'll
Yeah,
come.
yeah.
But like I never would have guessed to go this route, right? So awesome things. I know I have kept you. This is delicious. I'm going to devour this off camera. Rekha is staring at me to devour it as well. But before we disappear, I want to thank you for coming out. And also,
Thank you for having me. It was really a lot of fun, man.
Sweet, fantastic. We'd love to hear
really
that.
a lot of fun.
But where can folks find you, your socials, and your restaurant hours?
Right. So, okay, locations first. Filistix downtown is located, the address is 10621 100th Avenue. We're actually right in the heart of the government district, and right across the street from the Matrix Hotel. Shout out to Matrix Hotel, because they always send us a lot of customers. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Also, we have our Filistix sub. So sub means Students Union Building. That is located in the lower level of the Students Union Building. We are actually the only food outlet on that lower level, so you can't miss us. And that's kind of our flagship. So that's our busiest location. And that's a quick service type of model. So just strictly rice bowls. At Filistix downtown, you can get its full service for lunch, dinner, and brunch on Saturdays and Sundays. And then we have Takam Market. So Takam in Tagalog or in Filipino means to crave. So we call the food hall Takam Market. And it's a multi-concept food hall. So we have not only Filistix in there, but we also have like a sandwich concept called Big Sky Sandwiches, and then a pasta concept called Buta la Pasta. And there's like grab and go items and empanadas and a lot of cool like pastries and grab and go stuff. And it's really, really good. That is at MacEwan University in the Robbins Health Learning Center. So that's 109th Street and 104th Avenue, right on the corner there.
Nice.
Yeah, and coming at you in the next, hopefully,
All right,
week or
the
two.
food truck is coming back, right?
Yeah, so we will come full circle, and we will be launching our Filistix food truck again. I don't know exactly the time. Hopefully in the next week or two. So by May for sure, we'll be out on the streets.
Perfect. No, that'd be fantastic. And then to follow you and keep track of
Oh
the
yeah.
food truck.
So our socials, if you want to follow us, we have filistix.dt. This is Instagram, filistix.dt. And then we have Filistix.sub or Filistix sub. And then we also have To Come Market, all one word, on Instagram. And then Facebook is Filistix, and Twitter is also Filistix.
Awesome. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you again for joining us. And as always, folks, this has been Gabby Tries. Fantastic. Please go check them out. This food is delicious. I wish I could lie. It's fantastic, and I wish you could smell it too. But until next season, I'll catch you later.